The trick is to get multiple objects along the forearm and bicep, thereby distributing the rotation at different pivots or different 3D vectors. The easiest way to do this is to layer two nulls together, or two objects of any type, as long as they've got a center pivot, which pretty much every object does. So I'll start off with a null, which I'll transform into my stand-in pyramid, and I'll reduce the size of that object so it will fit into my bicep and forearm, and I'll give this the name ulnarad parent null. I'm going to get a polymesh cube, do the old edge extraction trick, select all the edges, right click extract as curves, freeze the modeling stack, and delete the cube. So I've got a curve based object. I'll scale that down to a really small size, and having the benefit of a curve based object, I don't really need to freeze the scaling, I actually just freeze the modeling stack. So this represents my twist. If I look in my Explorer now, and I close my model, I can take the twist object, this is the object that I'm going to drive with my current twist object. So in the rig, this control object ends up driving a more complicated rig, so we don't use this object as a deformer anymore, rather it's a control. So I'll take the twist object and drop it underneath its parent null. If I just switch the attributes in the Explorer to show objects only, rather than their attributes, we have this sort of a hierarchy. Now of course if I find my pyramid, any transformation I apply to my parent object, of course, does not get transmitted to my child. So this is actually just allowing me to get my twist object in place. I'll do that by matching transforms to the forearm bone and the bicep bone. I'll actually just hide geometry to do this. I'll match all transforms to line the parent null up, and I'll slide it forward along the x-axis of the forearm bone. Now, I'm not actually keeping a pivot at the elbow because the vector is right between forearm and bicep. I actually want to have some of the twist deformation pass through that elbow, that critical elbow point there, and soften the transition at the elbow. So I'm actually going to have a deformer just off of the midpoint, or off of the pivot point of the forearm, and just behind it, parented to the bicep. I can duplicate these objects now, Control-Alt-D, and slide each duplicate along the forearm's local x-axis as we have matched transforms. So there are my first 4 twist objects. I'll bring them together under a common hierarchy by getting another null, matching all transforms to my ulna radii parent null, and making those 4 hierarchies, those 4 two-object hierarchies, children of this null. So this becomes the rig parent null. I'll adjust its shape and its size. Maybe make it a little larger so I can grab it very quickly. And I can then go in, branch select this object, and match transforms to the bicep bone. Of course, I'll duplicate this, Control-Alt-D, and match all transforms here as well. All I need to do then is slide each of these objects down along the biceps length to a location where I can best describe the rotation point of skin in that area. So I don't need a rotation point right at the top of the bicep. Along it will be fine enough. Somewhere at around 75, 80, 90%. We have a shoulder bone here to take a lot of the deformation in this region. Okay, so things are actually starting to look pretty good here. I'm just going to kind of line these guys up a little better. And prepare to take this to the next stage.